3 years ago, my world was turned upside down when my sister wrongly accused me of stealing her engagement ring. It wasn't until recently that the truth came to light when they found it lodged in the garbage disposal. I never thought I'd share this tale, but here it is. I'm Ethan, 26, and 3 years ago, my life unraveled because of a false claim by my older sister, Clara, 29. We grew up in a small Ohio town with our parents, Mark, 55, and Susan, 53, in a cozy two-story home they bought when they got married. It wasn't luxurious, but it was ours. My dad taught math at the local high school, and my mom worked as a nurse at the community hospital. They weren't rich, but they always provided for us. Clara and I were tight as kids. We'd spend hours in the backyard, scrambling up the old oak tree and creating elaborate games. Clara always took charge, setting the rules, while I was happy to tag along. As we grew older, though, our paths diverged. Clara was a high achiever, top of her class, debate team captain, excelling at everything. I was more relaxed, doing decently in school but lacking her drive. By our teens, this difference strained our bond. When Clara went off to a prestigious university on a scholarship, I stayed local, attending community college, unsure of my future. She moved to the city after graduating, landing a job at a top marketing firm. During her visits home, she'd share stories of her exciting life, making me feel small by comparison. I was still at home, working part-time at a grocery store, trying to find my way. Despite the distance between us, I thought we were okay, until everything fell apart. 3 years ago, Clara got engaged to her boyfriend, James, 31, a lawyer from a wealthy family. My parents adored him. He proposed with a stunning heirloom diamond ring, and Clara couldn't stop showing it off. The engagement party was a big deal, with half the town invited to our house. I felt out of place among Clara's fancy city friends, sticking close to my high school buddies who were still around. A month later, disaster struck. It was a quiet Tuesday, my day off, and I was in my room playing video games. Clara was home for a week, planning her wedding with Mom. I heard them chatting downstairs after a shopping trip. Then, Clara's scream pierced the air. I rushed down to find her accusing me of stealing her engagement ring. She said she'd left it on the kitchen counter while washing dishes, and now it was gone. I denied it, shocked, but she wouldn't hear me out. She claimed I was jealous of her success and probably took it to sell for money to move out. When my parents got home, Clara told them her story, and to my dismay, they believed her without question. Mom cried, asking how I could betray my sister. Dad just stared at me, disappointed. They searched my room, tearing it apart. They didn't find the ring, but they found some cash I'd saved from my job, nothing much, just a few $100s. Clara jumped on it, saying I must have sold the ring to get the money. I explained I was saving for community college classes, but no one listened. The next few days were hell. My family hounded me to confess, threatening to call the police. I was terrified, isolated, and felt like a criminal in my own home. I tried reaching out to friends, but most had left town after high school, and the few still around didn't want to get involved. After a week of accusations, my parents made a devastating choice. They told me to leave. They said they couldn't trust me anymore and that I was a disgrace. They gave me 2 days to pack and go. I was heartbroken with nowhere to turn. My high school friend Jake, 26, who'd recently returned from the military, offered me his couch temporarily. But his place was tiny and he was struggling too. I packed my clothes, books, laptop, and a few keepsakes into a backpack and duffel bag. As I left, I saw Clara watching from her old bedroom window. I thought I saw a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but she turned away. Leaving the only home I'd ever known was gut-wrenching. I felt betrayed by those who were supposed to love me unconditionally, and the worst part was I was innocent. For 2 months, I bounced between Jake's couch and cheap motels when I could afford them. I took any job I could find, dishwashing, dog walking, even construction work. It was tough, but I was determined to prove myself. Eventually, I landed a steady job at a warehouse outside town. The work was grueling, the hours long, but the pay was reliable. It let me rent a small room in a house shared with other warehouse workers. I started rebuilding my life, but the pain lingered. I'd lie awake, replaying the events, wondering how my family could turn on me so easily. Clara, who knew me better than anyone, thought I was capable of such a betrayal. I cut contact with my family. They tried reaching out at first. Mom left tearful voicemails begging me to come home. Dad sent curt texts about needing to talk, and Clara even showed up at the warehouse once, but I refused to see her. I couldn't face them after what they'd done. They were no longer my family. For 3 years, I built a new life. I made friends at work and in my shared house. We'd hang out, grab beers, and watch sports. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was mine. I got promoted to shift supervisor at the warehouse and started taking online business management courses. I was finding my path, but the anger and hurt never faded. I missed my old life, but I couldn't forgive them for doubting me. Holidays were tough, with family scenes in stores or Christmas music stirring up grief for what I'd lost. Then last week I got an email from my dad with the subject, "We need to talk." It was short, saying they had to meet about the ring incident. I almost deleted it, but curiosity, or maybe a need for closure, stopped me. I called him and he dropped a bombshell. They'd found the ring. Clara had accidentally knocked it into the garbage disposal while washing dishes. They only discovered it days ago when the disposal malfunctioned and a plumber found it. Dad said Clara was devastated, realizing I'd been truthful all along. They felt terrible and wanted to make amends. I hung up, overwhelmed. I felt vindicated, but also furious. It took 3 years for the truth to surface, and I'd lost so much time, struggling alone for something I didn't do. Now my family wants me to come home, saying they'll make it right. Clara's been calling and texting, begging for forgiveness. But I'm not sure I can let go of the pain. They cast me out without a second thought, assumed the worst, and left me to fend for myself. Part of me wants to tell them to live with their guilt, but another part misses my old life and wonders if we can rebuild. I'm torn and would appreciate some outside perspective on what to do. Update 1: It's been a week since my post, and a lot has happened. Thank you all for your support. It's helped me process my feelings and decide my next steps. After much thought, I agreed to meet my family. I felt I owed myself the chance to face them and find closure, even if I wasn't ready to reconcile. We met at a quiet coffee shop in a nearby town, far enough to avoid familiar faces but close enough for everyone to travel. I was nervous that day, not having seen them in 3 years. I arrived early, picking a corner table for privacy. When they walked in, it hit me hard. Mom looked older, with more gray hair and lines around her eyes. Dad seemed worn, his shoulders heavy. Clara couldn't meet my gaze at first, looking less confident than the sister I remembered. We sat, and silence hung heavy until they all spoke at once, apologies tumbling out. My parents admitted they'd failed me by not trusting me and kicking me out. They said they'd regretted it daily, but were too ashamed to reach out sooner. Dad, usually reserved, talked about replaying those days, questioning how he'd misjudged so badly. Mom, crying, said she'd kept my room untouched, hoping I'd return. She'd wake at night, imagining she heard me. Clara sobbed, saying she'd never forgive herself for accusing me and ruining our bond. She said she'd admired me as kids, despite being older, but got caught up in her own life and lost sight of what mattered. Their words stirred memories of our childhood, Clara defending me from bullies, our shared laughter and late-night talks. It made the betrayal sting more, but also reminded me of happier times. I listened, but couldn't forgive them yet. The pain was too fresh. I told them I needed time to process. They understood and didn't push. Mom reached for a hug as we left, but I stepped back, not ready for that. Her hurt look almost broke me, but I had to protect myself. Back at my apartment, I wrestled with my options. Did I want my old life back? Could I trust them again? Was it worth trying to rebuild? I realized I'd grown a lot in 3 years, independent, resilient, and proud of the life I'd built. Going back felt like undoing that. But seeing them stirred feelings I couldn't ignore. I still loved and missed them. After days of reflection, I called my parents. I said I appreciated their apologies but wasn't ready to fully reconnect. I set boundaries. I'd allow limited contact, but I wasn't moving home or acting like nothing happened. Any relationship would be on my terms. They were disappointed but agreed to respect my space. Mom asked to call weekly and I said yes, thinking it could slowly rebuild trust. For Clara, I'm keeping my distance. Her actions hurt the most and I'm not ready to forgive her. I told her I needed more time, and though upset, she said she'd wait. It's been an emotional week. I've doubted my choice at times, wondering if I'm too harsh or missing a chance to reunite. But then I remember how quickly they turned on me, and I know I'm right to take it slow. I'm also exploring therapy, as many of you suggested. I've never done it before, so I'm nervous, but I think it could help. I'm focusing on work and my studies, with a big project coming up at the warehouse. I'm also considering moving to a better apartment without roommates, since I've been saving up. Thank you for your support. It means a lot to know people care, even strangers. I'll update if anything big happens. Update 2: It's been nearly a month since my last update, and I've got some news. I've stuck to my boundaries with my family. We've had a few calls and texts, nothing too heavy, and it's been okay, awkward, but not as painful as I feared. My parents have mostly respected my limits, checking in lightly without pushing. Mom's weekly calls were stiff at first, with long pauses, but they're getting easier. We stick to safe topics like her hospital job, the weather, or my online classes. Dad sends brief emails, sometimes with articles he thinks I'd like one about a new business in town. It's small, but it reminds me of how he used to share newspaper clippings when I was a kid. Clara's struggling with my boundaries. She sent long, emotional texts, apologizing and begging to fix things. I've replied briefly, saying I need time. It's tough, but I'm standing firm. I know she's hurting, but I can't handle her emotions on top of mine. The big news is I've started therapy with a counselor who specializes in family trauma. We've had a few sessions, and it's tough but helpful. We're unpacking the pain of the past and working on my anger and trust issues. Last session, we discussed how the ring incident wasn't just about the accusation, but also years of feeling overshadowed by Clara's success. It's shown me our family had deeper issues before the ring, and healing means addressing those too. I've grown closer to my friends, especially Jake. They've been my rock through this. Jake even offered to join me for future family meetings for support. It's shown me family isn't just blood, it's who stands by you. Work's been a great distraction. I got a small promotion, managing inventory for my shift with a slight pay bump. It feels good to have something positive to focus on. I've decided to stay in my current place for now. It's not fancy, but it's mine and represents my independence. My parents offered to help me find a better apartment, but I said no. I need to do this myself. I'm also looking into night classes at a state university an hour away for a business program. It's a big step, but I'm ready. Some days are tougher than others. I miss the easy connection we had as a family, but then I remember how fast they doubted me. My therapist says it's okay to have mixed feelings and to take my time. We're working on strategies for family gatherings and holidays, which I'm dreading more than I'd like to admit. For now, I'm focused on healing and building a life I'm proud of, with or without my family. Your comments and support have given me strength. It's reassuring to know I'm not alone. Update 3: It's been 6 months since my first post, so here's a final update. The biggest change is I'm moving to a new city for a job opportunity. It's a major step up in my career, and I'm excited. The role is with a logistics company, similar to my warehouse work but on a larger scale, in a management position. The pay is better, with benefits like health insurance and a 401k. I discussed the move with my therapist, weighing how it might affect my healing and family ties. We agreed it's a chance to stand fully on my own and define myself beyond the drama. I told my parents about the move last week. They were surprised and sad, but said they understood. Mom teared up, saying she'd hoped we'd have more time to reconnect before I left. Dad was quieter, but clearly disappointed. They worried about me being alone in a new place, but I reassured them I'd be fine. Clara took it hardest. She showed up at my apartment unannounced, begging me not to go, saying it felt like losing me again. It was tough, but I stood my ground, saying this was for me, and our relationship wasn't at a point where her opinion could sway me. Things with my family are improving, but it's not perfect. We've had a few family dinners, awkward at times, but we're learning to coexist. Trust is still an issue. I sometimes wonder if they mean what they say or are just easing their guilt. Therapy's been a lifeline, helping me set boundaries and process my feelings. My therapist says forgiveness isn't about forgetting or pretending nothing happened. It's about letting go of anger for my own peace. I'm working on that, not for them, but for me. Carrying resentment was exhausting, and I'm ready to release it. As I prepare to move, I've been reflecting on everything. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over, having lost everyone I loved. But I've grown stronger, more independent, and prouder of myself than ever. I don't know what's next for my family and me. We plan to stay in touch with weekly calls and holiday visits. It's a start, and maybe time and distance will help us build something new. For now, I'm focused on my new job, city, and possibilities. I've been browsing apartments online and researching my new area. It's exciting and nerve-wracking, but I'm optimistic. I've proven I can handle whatever comes my way, and I've learned the value of surrounding myself with people who support me, blood or not. Thanks for following my story. If you haven't subscribed, please do and hit the notification bell for more real-life stories like mine.